Welcome back. This is Talking Tide. This is the first show of the 2025-2026 football season. We're about 10 days away from Alabama opening up their season against Florida State at Doak Walker Stadium. So we have a ton to get to. First things first, I just want to say I'm excited for the year. Football's almost back. We wait for it year round, and we're so close. Like I said, we're about 10 days away from Alabama football. First things first, I want to ask you guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Video content is really something I want to push a lot more of this year. And getting up this YouTube page and this podcast is really kind of the best way for me to do it. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Comment, share, do all that good stuff. It really does help the channel a ton. Okay, now that we have all that out of the way, first things first, I want to talk about the biggest news coming out of Tuscaloosa is going to be the Jam Miller injury. Now, it came out a couple of days ago that Jam Miller had an upper body injury in a practice or in a scrimmage. It came out that it was a broken collarbone or a dislocated collarbone. He was supposed to have surgery initially, but according to Alex Booth on Twitter, there's no surgery required, and the recovery time will, in quotes, be fast, I guess as fast as it can be for a dislocated collarbone. Here's my whole thought on that situation. I don't need Jam Miller to be 100% I don't need him to be healthy. I don't need him to be in pads or anything for Florida State, Wisconsin, any of those games coming up. The Georgia game is where I think we're going to need him the most. So if we can rest him, if he can take time off the field, get back healthy for the Georgia game, I think that's optimal. I'm not 100% sure what the timeline is for recovery. Kalen DeMoore didn't really give a ton of information on that. So will he be missed for these upcoming games? Yes. But the good thing is Alabama has such a deep running back room. I think that we will be just fine without him for the Florida State game, the Wisconsin game, and any of these kind of early, I was going to say preseason games. We don't have a preseason. Any of these early games in the season, we obviously have Richard Young in the backfield. We have Daniel Hill, and we picked up Dre Washington in the portal. I think we have as good of a running back room as anybody in the country. We're super deep. We're stacked. Obviously, Jam would have been the number one had he not got hurt. But I think Richard Young is the out-and-out number two. I think Daniel Hill and Dre Washington will both get a lot of touches in the Florida State game. Is it nice to have a guy you can kind of fall back on and just run the ball behind that really experienced offensive line? Yes, but I think that the injury happening kind of when it did, it gives the time for pieces to be moved, for Richard Young to get more comfortable playing with the number ones. I think we're going to be just fine without him for these opening games. Georgia is the big one that I think we're going to need him for. Obviously, an experienced guy against Georgia. I think having that experience in the backfield will help us a ton when we go to Athens. But I think until then, we're going to be just fine. So this is something I want to talk about that wasn't exactly in the realm of Alabama. But speaking of FSU, obviously we know Thomas Castellanos has said a lot of kind of borderline dumb things. I don't like to insult the guy. I liked him when he was at Boston College. He said a lot of things that have ruffled some feathers in Tuscaloosa. The first thing being about Nick Saban, saying that, Alabama's not what we were now that Nick Saban is gone. And then from FSU Athletics, he comes out with this.
I think Coach White and our defense is the hardest defense I'll see all year. Just schematically and stuff like that, what they do. It's hard to be back there and a lot of moving parts on their end. But, it's helped me a lot and helped me be better and helped me progress as a quarterback and as a player and when to, just take the check down or when to just eat it or throw it away and stuff like that and when the play's over. So I think that deep, like seeing them every day for the last 3 weeks has helped me a lot and progress as a quarterback. I think Coach White and our defense is the hardest defense I'll see.
Now, if Bama's defense didn't already have enough incentive to go out there and make a statement, in this Florida State game, they do now. Obviously, Castellanos was a transfer from Boston College where he got benched by Bill O'Brien. Comes into Florida State, likes to make a lot of noise, likes to talk a lot of stuff. I'll be honest, in this clip, I don't believe I don't think he believes a word that he's saying. You can see that little smile he does at the beginning of the clip. He knows it's going to get clipped. He knows it's going to get put everywhere. It's going to be used in video edits after the game, good or bad. I don't think he believes a word he's saying, but for the Crimson Tide, for our defense, I think that just adds more fuel to the fire. Classic rat poison. I think we should go out there and use that as a chip on our shoulder, be dominant in defense. I'll be honest, I don't think this Florida State game is going to be as easy as everybody kind of predicts. I think that we will have a little bit of a slow start to the game. Doak Walker's loud. It's an intense stadium no matter what kind of Florida State team is playing. I think that it's going to take us a couple of drives to kind of get our feet under us. New quarterback, new running back now. A good experienced offensive line, a good experienced defense and secondary. But I think it'll take the offense a little bit of time to get going, a couple of drives. I think Florida State might have the opportunity to keep it close. The game is supposed to be raining. Castellanos is a very mobile quarterback, a guy who can make things happen with his feet, somebody that we have struggled with in the past. Not him specifically, but that style of quarterback. I think that, they'll keep it close early. I think we will run away with it in the end. It's not going to be an easy in and out game, I don't think. But one thing I did talk about, now I will have to bring this up with my brother. We went to lunch today. We talked about Florida State and how their season is going to go. And I made a bet with him. I promised I'd bring it up on the podcast. I made a bet with him. And the original bet is too far-fetched, so I've decided to alter the bet. And let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So this is Florida State's remaining schedule. Obviously, they have all the games. Bama, East Texas, Kent State are the way they start. And I've told him in this bet, the original bet was if they win the Natty, Florida State that is, I'll get a Florida State tattoo. That's obviously way too far-fetched, and there's no real risk. So I've decided to alter the deal a little bit. If Florida State makes the playoffs, I will get a Florida State tattoo. And it's not going to be anything big. It's not going to be anything that's visible. I will get a Florida State tattoo. And I kind of wanted to run through the games that I'm going to have to dodge for me to not have to get a Florida State tattoo. Obviously, they play Bama. I think we're going to win that week 1. East Texas and Kent State, I think they win those 2 games. I don't know enough about Virginia. I'm going to go with they beat Virginia. Then they play Miami at home. I think Miami wins that game. They play Pitt at home. I think Pitt wins that game. Stanford, I don't know enough about. I think Stanford, we're going to go with they lose that game. Wake Forest, I think they beat Wake. I think they lose to Clemson. I think they lose to Florida. And they could either win or lose against NC State or Virginia Tech. I looked at the schedule, and it is such an easy schedule. I don't think they win. Like I said, I think the 4 ranked teams out of this schedule beat them and keep them out of the playoffs. The only way they get in is if they go and win an ACC championship. I don't think that's going to happen because I think Clemson is probably the best team in the ACC. But it makes me a little bit nervous. I think I'll be fine, but I figured I wanted to add that in there as a little bit of incentive early in the season just to have something fun to look at for the rest of the year. So I will be getting a Florida State tattoo if they make the playoffs this year. I'm hoping they don't. All right, on to the next one. So speaking of terrible claims and kind of delusion, Auburn University has decided that they will claim 7 more national championships on top of the 2 that they legitimately already have internationally recognized. Now, I'm just going to go over what championships they're claiming to, or they're laying claim to now. And then we'll go and we'll look at the actual champions and what Auburn's record was for these seasons. So they've laid claim to 7 of them. So obviously 1957 and 2010 are the 2 that they legitimately have. On top of those, they have now claimed the 1910, 1913, 1914, 1958, 1983, 1993, and the 2004 national championships. Let's go over, I found this on Instagram. I'll shout out who I found it from. They made a graphic and they showed Auburn's record versus the record of the actual recognized national champions. Recognized by everybody except for the people who live in Auburn. So let's go ahead and pull this up. So this is from CFB RALB. No idea what it stands for. But good graphic. I appreciate them doing it. Now, first things first, the 1910 National Championship game. The actual title belongs to a 9-0 Pittsburgh team. Auburn went 6-1 in 1910, and they lay claim to that national championship, 6-1. So we're gonna say no to that. 1913, 8-0. The actual title belongs to a 9-0 Harvard. Harvard have a better undefeated record. So I'm gonna also go with no to that. 1914, Army won the national championship in 1914, and you're not going to take away a national championship from Army, especially when you're 8-0-1. You tied a game, you don't have as good of a record as they do. In 1957, obviously they won a real national title. That's one recognized. 1958, 9-0-1 was the record for Auburn. 11-0 LSU actually has that national championship. So again, you have the worst record. Therefore, you're not the national champions. All right, 1983. We're getting into a little bit more modern times. 11-1. They finished at number 3. Miami finished 11-1 at number 1. It's kind of one of those things where it's down to who polled them at the time, who believes that they actually finished as number 1. They finished at number 3. That's the record. Miami finished with the same record at number 1. Not a legitimate title. The title's going to go to Miami. 11-0 in 1993, but they were banned from the postseason. If you're banned from the postseason, you can't win a national championship game. That's also a no. 2004. This one's the one that's a little more controversial. USC actually won the national championship game that year at 13-0. Auburn also at 13-0. But again, we had a national championship game. That title belongs to USC. And then in 2010, Auburn won a BCS championship game. Cam Newton, all that good stuff. So that's a real title. So we have 2 official titles, 7 delusional ones, one of which being a 6-1 1910 record. So if that tells you anything, it tells you how bad Auburn's preseason has gone, how bad the fall camp has to currently be going. If they just want to throw this out there, I saw another headline saying that Hugh Freeze has 3 quarterbacks currently docketed to play in their opener against Baylor. I think they're going to have a terrible season. I don't think they go bowling this year. I think they'll probably look worse than they did last year. They paid a ton of money for Jackson Arnold, and he's not even looking like he's going to start. Deuce Knight supposedly has a lot more developing to do. So I don't think Auburn have a good season this year. They have a good wide receiver core, but I don't think it's going to pull them to any kind of bowl games, anything like that. I'm not going to do an Auburn bet because I don't want to get an Auburn tattoo at all. So I'm not going to do that bet. We'll keep it the FSU one. All right, on to the next one. This is a little more Bama related. I want to talk about a couple of guys who have the potential to break out this year, freshmen coming into the Crimson Tide. Not transfers, just purely freshmen. Number 1, I got Caleb Edwards. Let me go ahead and pull this down. We don't need to see this all day. Number 1, I got Caleb Edwards. Tight end coming in. He was the number 8 tight end nationally for per 24/7 Sports, sorry. Due to 6'6", 264 as a freshman, he is an absolute monster. If you go watch some of his highlight tapes, which I've done, he played a little bit of wide receiver as well. Has good hands, can block. He's one of those guys, I don't think he's going to get snaps early on in the season until we start getting into the red zone. And this is one thing I've said for years and years. Bama has lacked a real red zone threat. We haven't had a guy in a long time who can just go up and take the ball away from somebody. At 6'6", 264, you can go up and take the ball away from somebody. I don't care if you're a freshman or if you're a senior or if you're a sophomore. It doesn't matter. If you're 6'6", 264 and you got some hands, you can go up and be a red zone threat. I think that Ty Simpson kind of needs that type of guy just to be able to have someone to go to where if you overthrow him, he's got a good chance to go get the ball, and nobody else likely will. I mean, when you're 6'6", you're not going to be dealing with corners that are the same height as you, especially at tight end. If you have a little bit of speed, linebackers are going to struggle to keep up. I think he's going to be one of those guys who's a little bit of a specialty case in his freshman year, but I think we see him get used a lot in the red zone. Also, I think he'll be very good for pass pro and run blocking, all that kind of good stuff. I think he'll be a legitimate prospect for this year. The other one is Dijon Lee. He's got a very good chance, I think, to start this year. Bama's secondary is obviously very deep. We've talked about that a little bit. Kane Wilmette came out and said he's got a good chance to start. Said he's got a lot of reps in with the team. I think that Bama's secondary is, like its running back room, as deep as anybody in the country. I think Dijon Lee, obviously we have guys like Bray Hubbard, Demonic Jackson, Keon Saab. I think he'll fit right in. And that's kind of what Kane Womack has gone to, saying he's going to fit right in with his secondary core. A lot of veterans on that side, but also we got a lot of young guys coming in. I think he'll be very good. I don't know if he'll start on week 1. Obviously, playing FSU at Doak Walker, it's going to be loud. It's going to be kind of chaotic. I don't know if he'll start in that game. I think I'd prefer to see the guys who are really kind of drilled, a good unit that's always, it's been together for a couple of years now. I would like to see them start overall, but do I think he's going to get a lot of reps in that game? Yes. And do I think he's going to get a lot of reps going forward? Absolutely. I think he's going to be a big key piece kind of going down the stretch. And hey, I mean, secondary guys in the secondary who are freshmen at Alabama usually come on and have an instant impact. We've seen that last year. I think that's going to be about it. We got one more thing to kind of go over. I've got our preseason predictions. Now, these are my preseason predictions. I posted them on Instagram. We're just going to go over them, talk about a couple of the games. First one's first, obviously, Florida State. We talked about that a little bit. I don't put a lot of merit into predicting scores. I just think it's kind of a crapshoot at best. I've kind of just given it a little bit of thought and put some scores down where I think that we're going to be relatively close. Florida State, I think Bama wins at 35-14. Like I said, I think we keep it close early. Maybe something like 17-7. It's going to be a wet game. I didn't know that going into this graphic, so I think it'll be a little bit more low scoring than this. But I think we get a win comfortably at Doak Walker. ULM is our second game of the year. Blowout game. I got 42-3 up there. Wisconsin, I think, actually gives us a little bit more of a game. If you remember early last year, they played a decent football game up to the point, I think it was Tyler Van Dyke, their starting quarterback, got hurt. I think they'll give us an okay game at Bryant-Denny. I think we get a pretty comfortable win at the end of the day. I think they probably score a garbage time touchdown. 31-17 is my final score. Georgia. Now, there was some real discussion about this on Instagram. I'm really split between two games. I think we have probably one loss in this schedule total. I don't know if it's going to be at Georgia. I don't know if it's going to be at South Carolina. Those are the two that I'm really kind of split on. The only reason I picked Georgia, and the way I'll defend myself in this, is I think it's early in the season. Now it also looks like we might not have our starting running back. Early in the season, guys aren't quite as drilled, quite as seasoned as they will be when we play South Carolina. I think it'll be a little bit of a tougher game in Athens. The problem for Georgia is I don't know where they find their offensive production. I think Gunnar Stockton's a good quarterback, but I just don't see where else they're going to get real offensive production. Running back last year was a big struggle spot for Georgia. So I don't know. It's going to be on the fence. We can obviously win that game. I have no doubt in my mind that we can win that game. But that was the one I touted for our one loss of the season. Vanderbilt, I've got us at 125-3. I went a little bit conservative on the scoring from the Bama side, but we'll give Vanderbilt 3 points. Missouri, I think Missouri is a bad football team this year. I really do. I think that they're going to be worse than they were last year, and they were bad last year. It's at Missouri. I don't think it's going to matter. I got us 45-10. Tennessee, I also think that they're not going to be a great football team this year. Obviously, the Nico Imaliava situation was kind of one of the big transfer portal sagas this year. Obviously, he left, and I just don't think they're going to be a great football team. I can't remember that game. It's at home. Forgot about that. All of our revenge games are at home this season, which I love. I got Bama winning 35-10. South Carolina. This one is at South Carolina, and this is going to be a tough football game. I'm not going to lie. I talked about it a little bit with Castellanos. Bama struggles sometimes with a very mobile quarterback. South Carolina gave us a heck of a good game at home last year. I think they're a better unit this year. I think they're going to be a better football team. But I think we're going to be drilled enough. I think we're going to have enough offensive production at that point to go out there and get a win at South Carolina. LSU, I think LSU is going to be a worse football team this year than they were last year. Garrett Nussmeier is a good quarterback. I see him having a good season. But at home against Bama, I just don't think you're going to beat them. 31-7, Bama. Oklahoma, other revenge game. Now, here's always my theory with Brent Venables. I always think that Brent Venables is going to have a very, very stout defense and tough to break down. I said this before the Oklahoma game last year, and, well, you know how it went. I think they're going to have a stout defense this year. They're going to have wide receivers this year as well. Everybody's not going to be hurt. I don't know how their quarterback situation is going to look. I think it'll be solid. I think they're going to probably have a better offense this year than they did last year. I just think we're going to have a better offense than we did last year as well. I think we're going to be able to beat them. But I think it's going to be a bit of a closer game than people think. I got 24-14. Eastern Illinois, I put 52-10. Doesn't really matter at that point. Auburn, I got us beating them 35-17. Like I said, I think Auburn's not a good football team. God, I can't remember the name of the Cal College. It's at Auburn. Can't remember the name of the stadium at this point. Jordan-Hare, that's the one. And, it's always tough when we go there to play games. I don't see us losing to Auburn this year. I really hope that clip doesn't come back to bite me. I don't see us losing to Auburn. I think we're going to be too drilled. I think we're going to be too in sync, secondary and defense. Obviously, barring any kind of injury, God forbid. I think we go in and we beat Auburn away from home. So that's kind of my season prediction. 11-1. I think we make it to the SEC championship game. I think we make a playoff run. I think we have a very good chance of winning the national championship altogether. That's not necessarily a bold prediction. A lot of people have predicted us to win the national championship, but I haven't made my postseason predictions yet. I haven't done that graphic or dug into it just yet, but that'll probably come a little bit later in the season when everything kind of shapes out. I could do a preseason prediction if you wanted me to. My initial thoughts are we're going to play Texas in the SEC championship game. It could also be Georgia as well, but my overall feelings is Bama, Texas in the SEC championship game, which, I think will be a classic. So with all that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. That's going to do it for tonight. I think we've been running about 20 minutes, which is usually kind of where I want to keep this show. Don't want to make it run too much longer than that. Make it something easy to listen to while you eat dinner or in the car, stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, please like, subscribe, share this podcast. I really want to get it out and start doing a lot more good video-based content this year. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I am a little bit active on Twitter or X, whichever one you prefer. So please follow all those social medias. I think that's going to do it for tonight. I appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time. Roll Tide.